Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some really big news when it comes to the next big PlayStation/Sony upgrades when it comes to brand new features when it comes to the PlayStation 5. Now, you guys do or do not know, there's a lot of big cool things when it comes to the future of cloud gaming, cloud computing, cloud streaming, and obviously when it comes to gaming as a whole, it's one of the bigger things out there. And of course, we've also had a few different types of systems when it comes like the PS Now, or even things like, say, Game Pass, or even things like your computer going to those little updates over there. And when we kind of go and see all this type of stuff, we just know it's the future of gaming. And now with this, we actually have some really cool stuff tied in with that when it comes to the PlayStation, so we're going to go talk about that as of right now. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on as well. Make sure you guys go check out the Amazon links down below, or go follow up the Twitter and Twitch down below too as well. Love to have you guys there. And of course, give me your thoughts and comments down below, and let's dive into the video itself. So as I mentioned, Sony basically has been somewhat familiar when it comes to cloud gaming, cloud streaming, although one big thing is we haven't really seen too much when it comes to PlayStation 5 games. We've seen prior streaming things for other older consoles and generations, which also would make a lot of sense, mainly because it's a little bit less taxing on your internet, less taxing on like the overall bit rate. Like a good example is if, let's say, you're playing a game on like, the N64 versus like on the Switch. There's less resolution, less graphics, less files you have to worry about downloading consistently. It's a little bit easier on the internet, easier on the software, etc., etc. So that's kind of a big distinction between, like, let's say, a PS2 game versus a PS5 game. But Sony, as of right now, is seemingly starting to testing cloud streaming over here for PlayStation 5 games. Now, this is a little bit of a bigger deal than we probably expect. So PlayStation Plus premium members will eventually now get to have access to stream PlayStation 5 games without having to download them to a console at all. Now, obviously, you guys do or do not know, cloud gaming is just basically like a Netflix. You don't have to download the entire movie or a TV show. You press one button, you click two things on your controller, and you have access to the actual console games themselves. Now, PS5 games, once again, is a little bit more on the cooler side because there's a lot of really good higher up PlayStation 5 games. This also could maybe potentially start being the next big competitor once again for Game Pass, which is a big kind of competitive scene. So basically, yeah, if you're going to be a PlayStation Plus premium member, so basically you pay the extra money, you will eventually have access to be able to go and stream these games. So Sony right now says it has now officially started testing the ability to stream PlayStation 5 games from the cloud. The PlayStation maker says it's testing cloud streaming for PS5 games and is planning to add this as a feature to its PlayStation Plus premium subscription. We're currently testing cloud streaming for supported PlayStation 5 games. This includes PS5 titles from the PlayStation Plus game catalog and game trials, as well as supported digital PS5 titles that players own, says Nick McGuire, VP of Global Services, Global Sales, and Business Operations at Sony Interactive Entertainment. When this feature launches, cloud gaming streaming for supported PS5 titles will be available for use directly on your PlayStation 5 console. So once again, this is like not necessarily newer news in terms of like streaming. We have had PS Now before. It overall went pretty okay. It wasn't like the most used feature, but there was quite a few million of subscribers. People definitely did use it, even in the community. But once again, this pushing towards like a proper PlayStation 5 streaming is huge. And as well, if it's like somewhat of an updated version of the PS Now version, it may also add up the efficiencies too as well for other console games. So the cloud feature for PS5 games would mean you'll no longer need to have to currently download games to your console to stream them to other devices. Sony currently supports streaming PS5 games to PCs, Macs, and iOS and Android devices, but you have to use your PS5 as a host to download and stream your titles to the other devices. Now, this also kind of ties into as well for the brand new PlayStation Handheld, which I'm sure we're going to get to in a second over here. And it seemed obvious for months that Sony was working on cloud streaming for PS5 games. Recent job listings hinted at a new cloud gaming push, and then PlayStation chief Jim Ryan teased quite aggressive plans for cloud gaming last month. But Sony went on to reveal its PlayStation Handheld, codenamed Project Q, by only confirming Wi-Fi streaming of PS games directly from a console. Now, that's also going to be probably our next big step, because if you really want to have a proper good gaming console in 2023 or 2024 and beyond, because it's releasing later on this year, you need to have this cloud gaming. Like, you need this. You want to have the ease and simplicity of all this type of stuff, and well, it just makes everything a whole lot easier. So kind of was almost like surprising me if they don't push for that. And as well, at the same time, too, when it comes to the console, it makes the console whole iterations a lot easier, too. And just everything trying to have this PlayStation and Sony ecosystem, it just makes a lot of sense. So while Sony hasn't detailed whether its PlayStation Handheld will support PS5 Cloud Game Streaming, which I think it most likely will, especially if they're trying to make pushes right now, preemptively hyping it up, and of course talking about it. Basically, the cloud push is clearly a move towards that even if there's no release date yet, they basically want to go put big focus on this regardless. So Sony CEO Kenichiro Yoshida hinted earlier this month that the company is still in early stages of cloud gaming, so perhaps Project Q will still launch in November without this key support. So I still think this is going to be one of those big things that will be added, almost without a doubt. It just makes sense. It's like the next big hardware. It's kind of like if you go look at like the PlayStation VR 2. Like there was features that they were kind of teasing and discussing and talking about before it came out. And then as well, then it kind of was introduced pretty much around the same time, or if not, like just a little bit right after, it got actually released. And it makes sense too, like you have a mobile gaming console, well, what is a big deal right now? Cloud gaming, cloud computing, cloud hosting. So they're going to probably put a lot more extra money and effort into that, especially with the PS Now kind of being taken away and also the integration of the PS Plus Extreme, like, extra editions. Like, I'm sure these were all planned out multiple years in advance as of so far. It just makes a lot of sense. So this is like a really kind of, in my opinion, kind of big PlayStation update. And I'm someone who, I'm not like the biggest fan of cloud gaming because I usually just kind of play at home. I just do my own stuff already. But if people, like I always say, if you maybe go to college, you have to bounce back and forth. Maybe you actually do want to get the brand new PlayStation Handheld. That's another big thing. Or as well, maybe you have multiple people in your family. Maybe you want to go and just stream the stuff and project it towards other things like your PC. Like, it's a kind of a big deal in those regards because the technology is becoming somewhat of like a staple for gaming. Once again, gotta look at Game Pass. Game Pass is a really good example for all this stuff put together. So we think it's important for premium members to be able to enjoy as many games as possible via cloud streaming, says McGuire. We're in the early stages right now, and we can't wait to share more details when we're ready, including a launch time frame. So, two things to know is that we still want to get the official handheld console itself. Like, it looks cool, it looks vibey, we like it, but once again, we don't know if it's going to be officially supporting this cloud gaming or not. I hope it does. If it does not, life's going to be a little bit on the weirder side. But I hope it does. I really hope it does. And then part two is that we want to make sure it works good on the console, which obviously this is probably more so based around the console itself, because look at Xbox, look at Game Pass, all that type of stuff. Or even look at, like, say, Google Stadia, NVIDIA, all their type of cloud gaming. It's a very, very big staple thing. So this is cool. Like, I think this is like a really, really big update because this is where the future of gaming is going. This is where we want the future of gaming to be going. Now, granted, are we going to have anything cool like, say, a Game Pass type thing where maybe we could play a game day one on the streaming markets? Most likely, probably not, I would probably go and say, just because, like, well, like, they just haven't really pushed that. They make a lot of money off their initial game sales. But maybe after a few months or maybe a few years or so, they may go add these games. Like a Ratchet & Clank would probably be on this. But at the same time, I just kind of want to know, like, is it going to be any cool, like, day ones? Like, God of War Ragnarok, would that have been in day one? I'm kind of curious. So Sony confirmation the PS Cloud Streaming comes more than 4 years after it unveiled a surprising partnership with Microsoft that would see the companies collaborate to develop future cloud solutions for game and content streaming services. We haven't heard much about that deal since 2019. For 2021, PlayStation chief Jim Ryan said Sony was still at the exchanging idea stage, so this basically was, like, probably never really fully locked on in, despite an original promise of the gaming rivals exploring the use of Microsoft Azure's data center-based solutions for Sony's game and content streaming services. Given Sony's recent mentions of AWS in its job listings, the Microsoft strategic partnership could well be over. And I think it's probably gonzo. Let's be honest with this one too. I think it's cool that they maybe had some schemes on this before, but basically the Microsoft's cloud hosting is one of the most profitable sectors of that, and that was also one of the bigger aspects too of the monopoly issues with the Xbox acquisition of Activision. So obviously PlayStation probably does not want to go and feed money into Microsoft. They probably don't have any good connections of working together, and if they'd rather work with AWS and work with Amazon, that kind of gives them their own separate thing. Because also don't forget too, Amazon is also a big competitor towards Microsoft, so it almost kind of gives Amazon a good incentive to want to go and give, like, PlayStation a really good deal for hosting and data rates and all of that, because it also once again locks them in a huge multi-million-dollar, probably long-term partnership with something like PlayStation, which also once again helps them against the fight against Microsoft, which is one of their biggest cloud hosting competitors. So I think this is really cool. Like, I do think this kind of makes sense. It's kind of cool that these new features are coming. I do think this is something people will probably be using, and if not right this second when it comes out, within the next like 3, 4, 5 years, almost without a doubt, will be heavily used by probably a lot of you guys watching this video. And of course, as well with the handheld, it just makes a lot of sense too. So I gotta want to hear your thoughts and comments down below. Are you excited for this one? Are you hyped up for the actual handheld console or this coming to PlayStation 5? Let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the Twitter and Twitch streams down below, the Amazon links too as well down below, and of course, I just appreciate you guys all so much for watching. We'll have another video all throughout today, so be on the lookout for that.